Yeah, very systematic in our approach to days, get healthy, right, get fresh. Learn about yourself, dove more into the self-scout. Spent a couple of days really trying to look deep into, what we're doing, what other people are seeing, how they're playing us, how they expect to place moving forward, based on some tendencies we've shown. So, and then, get a lot of young players some work, which we did all three of those.
After the game on Saturday, Luke and Pat talked about, they're really comfortable in tempo offensively. So what did you find when you looked into that at all in the open week? What would that could benefit you guys, and then maybe drawbacks to going very, very quickly? Like
yeah,
that?
well, I mean, like we always have an element of tempo in our game and our game plan. Obviously when we go to 2-minute mode, which we did before the end of half and at the end of the game, then obviously that's a different tempo. And I thought we executed well in those phases. Ultimately didn't get the ball in the end zone at the end, but we were kind of executed well. And they've had a lot of experience in a 2-minute mode and end of half mode, and we have a package that allows us to play fast within the game. And so that's obviously something we're going to continue to carry, and as we mix up our tempos in the course of the game.
How's Luke doing this week? Last couple of games statistically haven't been the best passing. What have you seen from Luke this week?
Yeah, I've seen the same Luke last week that I did, after week 2 or whatever. he's just really consistent. I think we got a consistent football team, as far as just their demeanor and the way they come to work in the building every day. And that's obviously a really critical factor this time of year, is no matter what the result is previously, is you got to wash it, good or bad, wash it, and come to work the next week. And he certainly displayed that, and not just last week, but just all year long.
Looking back at that Minnesota game, what stood out to you when you watched Strong?
We didn't win, obviously.
Sure.
We didn't score enough to win. That was the most disappointing thing, is that, we came up short. Our job is to score one more than the other team, and we didn't do that. We didn't score enough points to win in a Big Ten game. There was a myriad of things, just like always. As you look at the end of the game or after the game, there's a myriad of things, some play calls, some execution challenges, some of them making some really nice plays. It was a mixture of all three of those. Whatever the result is, whatever the reason for the result is, we just got to always look inwardly first to see what we can do to correct and move forward, to execute better, to call it better, to play better, because we need to be able to do that this Saturday.
Was your self-scout this past week different, or did it reveal different things than maybe the first bye week? Did something
Sure.
similar?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're further along, more details, more games along into the season. We're trying to maybe emphasize more of this scheme or less of this scheme, and then you're like, well, okay, what about this? It's just there's just a lot that goes into it, and just an all-encompassing look, A to Z, about what we're doing well, what we need to be able to do down the stretch, and obviously all of that, everything that we do is preparation for this coming Saturday, and we'll have a great challenge ahead of us in that regard for sure. But our guys are in a good mind frame.
A lot of film on Michigan State at this time of year, those games played, plus 2 weeks to prepare. So do you feel like you know them pretty well? And then what jumps out about their defense?
Well, I do, and obviously we have some familiarity. Even though we haven't played Michigan State, we played against their defensive coordinator last couple of years when he was at Minnesota, at least since I've been here. And so it's obviously a guy that knows the league well, knows the system well. You can see his players just getting better and better every week, and more comfortable each week in their scheme. Super well coached, similar tree from what we played last week, obviously. And just been impressed with the way they play and the way they compete, like you would expect a Big Ten football team to do it, and they certainly do that, and they've got talent all over the field.
Is anything change because you both are coming off an open week?
Mm-hmm.
Any preparation? They're expecting you to make changes. You're expecting them to make changes, perhaps.
Yeah, I would say that the changes will probably be negligible to the naked eye, and so that's part of the cat and mouse game this time of year. It's a part of the game. Once the game unfolds, to see what changes there has been, and us to be able to react to those in a quick manner. But one of the things too is you get this time of the year, this deep into the season. There's certainly a philosophy, I think, on both sides of the ball that you're trying to implement and play by, and I would assume that and expect that those things not to drastically change on either side of the ball. And it'll be about execution, put your players in good position, and us, taking care of the football and playing, a good football game offensively.
Coach, were you recruiting last week?
No, we were in house last
you
week.
You all in house? And just with the voice of reception amongst the guys you are talking to, guys, this year
Sure.
beyond? Has
Yeah.
it been pretty good? in the
Sure, it has
week?
been, yeah, I think it's been really positive, and, obviously, especially the several weeks ranked, I think young men and their families, they pay attention to those things, or if people didn't pay attention to them, they wouldn't put them out, and so I think that's been a positive thing, obviously, being bowl eligible, and some things that we've done good to this point of the season. Obviously, we've come up short in some games, but I think people realize and recognize that what Coach Beelan has done here and the stability that he's brought to the program and the things we're building here, and so all the reception has been really positive, both with coaches and with players.
Barry,
You can't speak about specific players in future classes, but what do you feel, being here 3 years, getting recruits, getting prep recruits, what do you feel you're building in that quarterback room, and kind of stacking some of these guys together?
I think we're building a good room, and I think we're building talent there, and the guys that I think they see that we have a system in place and the way we play football that we're doing our best to support the quarterback and also let them display their talents in the system, and we've had some history of success there at the position, and so we've been real pleased with our efforts in that regard, and we've got talent and competition and depth as we're building, and that's always something that you want to continue to do.
Obviously, there's all attrition and transfers at that position. How important is it to have guys coming up through your system and having those prep guys coming up?
Yeah, hugely important. We want to build the program on that and at all positions, and the way the world works now, and that's obviously you're going to have some attrition, and you're going to have to look to piece together your depth through other sources. And but as much as we can, we want to provide, because that's the best way to provide stability is recruit good players that have good character and that want to be a part of the program, be developed, and so we want to continue to emphasize that at all positions, and we're pleased with where we're at right now in regards to that.
Barry, what was your approach last week in practice, just with guys that might be, haven't really contributed as much as maybe they had hoped for, but you've got 3 more games left, and the thought maybe, hey, eventually you're gonna be in a moment where you can help us.
Yeah, can you start the question from the beginning over? I'm sorry.
Just
I got the last part.
Yeah, your approach to last week in practice is maybe guys are trying to get healthy, and
Yeah,
you're just throwing other guys out there.
Yeah, we saw some guys that hadn't got as many reps that got a chance to take advantage of some of those opportunities, and inevitably every year there's always somebody, a guy or two on each side of the ball that hasn't played as much early on, and due to some attrition, some health challenges, with the team or whatever, or even them just really blossoming and figuring out what we're doing. And figure out who they are, like there's always somebody at the end of the year that emerges, and I think you'll see a couple of guys that are in that role that fit that description, that would be able to help us down the stretch in some way, shape, or form, and but it's always good to see, kind of take a step back. Hey, we know who the guys that have been playing for us on a consistent basis. Some of these guys have been doing the look squads, and we've heard a lot of really good reports about them, and then it's good to see exactly what our coaches are talking about, when you see. Of course, we spend a lot of time even during the week noticing what our guys are doing on either side of the ball. We watch film with them on the crossover, to help develop them, because development is something that doesn't just happen during open dates, doesn't just happen during fall camp or spring practice. It's something that we believe in doing year-round, and that's something that I think pays dividends, and we saw some good things last week.
What do you see from offensive line play? Are you getting the consistency that you want to see up front?
Well, we have to be more consistent everywhere, I mean, that's just the way it works, like starting a quarterback. We got to be more consistent and going on right down the line. Consistency is the key, especially this time of year. I thought our line did some good things the other day. I thought, just like any other position, they probably did some things we'd like back. And we're always striving for that, and pushing for that and scheming for that, for us to be as consistent as we possibly can. I know that, there's, I think down the stretch when they've been comfortable in what we're doing and, and comfortable with the calls and the looks, that we've been pretty good there. And yeah, I would just like to see more consistency across the board offensively, at all positions, including myself.
How much of a loss has Hayden Fagan been to this offense, and you be specific about what has been your evaluation of the run game over the past couple of games?
Yeah, well, obviously losing a player the caliber that Caden is in person, and that was a tough loss for us. And there's other tough losses we've had in the program at other positions. We could go on. Cole Russ was a tough loss preseason, and Then you start naming names. I don't want to leave anybody off, but we've had other guys that. I think that's one of the hardest things about this business is seeing a young man lose his year, that works year round for it and has an injury that, and the season continues to move on. It's hard, it's hard, and we're always very sympathetic to that. But I think the backs have done a nice job. I know they've done a nice job of picking up the slack and kind of doing a running back by committee. And they've all had their moments and flashes. I think they're really coming into their own. The way they're playing, I've been really pleased with the way they've handled the game and their responsibilities. And so I think, from a run game perspective, obviously, we want to run the football and be able to run the ball effectively. And there's been moments where we have over this season, and there's been moments where we haven't, and we got to be able to figure that out and do that more consistently down the stretch.
What goes into that process?
Oh, it's a pretty detailed process. It's the schemes, it's execution, it's how the game flow's going. I think we're healthy there, which is good. And so, I think I'm very comfortable with the running back by committee that we've got going down the stretch, and all three of those guys that have played significantly. Jordan, you got a carry, so you got a fourth guy, that have contributed in the game. I feel very comfortable at this time of the season, any of them doing any of the things we do in our scheme, so which that makes things better when you can have guys that doesn't matter who's in there, you can call whatever we have in our scheme, whatever we believe in our game plan.
With Jordan, how's his versatility kind of playing into what you guys, how are you able to use him offensively, and what's his development been like?
Yeah, obviously he's done a little bit, to your point, multiple roles for us, and he's a big, heavy back that can play lead fullback and play lead, H-back, and can get back there and run the ball behind the, like third down protections. And so, I'm just kind of, at this point, I'm not really answering your question. I'm just naming off things that we've all seen him do, but so I think that would speak to the versatility there of the things that you've already listed off and that I even mentioned. So you got a really smart player that is incredibly unselfish, that, epitomizes what we want this program to be built around, about tough, smart, dependable. That's Jordan. And we'll continue to find ways to help impact our football team down the stretch.
What's been the impact of Art Sikowski with a bigger role both in recruiting and on the field?
Yeah, Art's awesome. It's been really one of the more unique experiences I've had in coaching, to have somebody that I went from coaching in the room to, last year kind of moving into that role of being, my primary assistant or helper, and to even this year, that role growing more within our building on what we ask him to do on a daily basis, and obviously what he's doing in recruiting. And he's just really, one thing about Art, you never have to say go, and that's always a good thing. You always want to be able to have to say whoa before you say go, and he has just really been, like you guys got to know him as a player, and his personality and his, consistency and his demeanor. It's every day, and we've got a lot of really bright, really capable young coaches in our building. I think Coach has done a phenomenal job building people around him that meet that criteria, and Art's just one of those. But Art has been a tremendous asset to our quarterback room, and to me in particular.
All good? Thank you, guys.
I appreciate it, everybody.